he is my older brother. And I want to call him forward, but I want us to stand up. I want us to hear, I want us to clap our hands, stamp our feet, and make some noise for the fight for ShakaRa Bandaka. The title of the message, Omowale, the son, has returned. Tenamwale.
Tenamwale, 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 Tenamwale. Giving praises unto our great ancestors, Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African liberation and African power for all African people. Tenamwale. Tenamwale. It is through self-inquiry that one succeeds in knowing the nature of self. The question exists because the answer exists. Munhu, Ubuntu, human being, is equipped with the means, the right tools to solve this and other question. Munhu, Ubuntu, human being, sits at the summit of creation, yet rises even higher when the question, who am I, is finally resolved. Tenamwale. This is ancestral wisdom that is taken from a text called the Sacred Gospel of Hunhu or Ubuntu. Ubuntu. Ubuntu and Hunhu are two words that mean the same thing. Ubuntu, with various different, what they call Bantu languages, simply means, or is often translated as peoplehood. Often encapsulated in the phrase, I am because we are, and since we are, therefore I am. In the Zulu we say, Muntu, Ungumuntu, Ungabantu. A person is a person because there are people. So this is the principal means that governs human relations. In fact, even deeper than that, the concept of Ubuntu defines what it means to be a human being.
Come on.
And our human beingness is defined in relation to our connection with other human beings. It's even deeper than that, because within the term Ubuntu, you have the term Untu. And Untu is like the primal force, the animating force of creation. So when we say Ubuntu or Muntu, which is human being, we are emphasizing the fact that the human being is an expression of the universal life force. We are connected to the universal life force. And so we manifest the best in ourselves by connection to those who are mirror expressions of the universal life force. Is everybody with me?
Yeah, come on.
And so the concept of Ubuntu or Muntu, there is a saying that without Ubuntu, a person cannot become a human being. In other words, without that connection with other human beings and to the greater universal life force, we cannot fulfill our human beingness.
Come on.
And the fulfillment of our human beingness is based upon our capacity and our ability to answer the question, who am I? And when we answer the question, who am I, we can answer some other questions like, where am I from? What am I here to do? Translations. What is my purpose? Are you following me, King? And so we're here honoring a man who lived his life on purpose. We're honoring him because he manifested and was an exemplar of the principle of Nia. Shabazz.
Word. Come on.
So it says here, and by the way, originally this is Hunku is the Shona version of the term Ubuntu. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So initially, this wisdom would have been translated or transmitted in Shona. But my Shona is not fluent, yeah? So I've just presented the Shona for you, yeah? Because if you know, say we can speak African language and it exists.
Right.
And it's good for us to see the words in an African language. But I've translated it for you in English. So we understand our ancestral wisdom. Is everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
So we're dealing with the concept, the subject, Omowale. The sun has returned. And we know that in African culture, names have significant meaning.
Word song.
That give expression to a definition to life purpose. And in many ways is a signpost to tell us who and what we are and where we're there from. But we're going to come back to that. Before we get into that aspect of things, but you, as we did in our libation, want to give honor to Mama Betty Shabazz.
Yeah, you know?
The wife of Omowale. And this is extremely important because we're honoring Omowale Malcolm X in this month because this is the month in which he was assassinated. We have many great leaders, particularly men, who were assassinated. And many of them left behind families, wives, and children. And we often do not conceptualize the fact that our leaders were mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters. When they are taken from us, they leave behind families who have to now live with the trauma of the loss of that leader.
Word song.
And so it is extremely important for us to remember our Mama Betty Shabazz. It's extremely important for us to remember that Omowale Malcolm X was a father
Word song.
and a husband. And he played the role of a father and a husband whilst being a leader of an internationally growing world African liberation movement. So we have this image here because we want us to know that the man is doing the work next to his wife. The work has to go on. But family is not an addendum to the work. It's not separate from the work.
Come on.
Family is part of the work. So the work has gone and the family dead. You following me? We often don't see images of our leaders with their family. Very important. These are 5 of the 6 daughters of Omowale Malcolm X and Mama Betty Shabazz. Can we hail them, please? And then we have, as was mentioned earlier, Brother Malcolm Shabazz. I have the pleasure of knowing some brothers and sisters who knew him, and the evolution that he was on. Enough to know the significance of the loss that he was to us, family. And there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from his life. There's a lot of lessons that we can learn from the way in which he was taken from us. But I want us to understand that he represents the 3rd generation in a line of manhood that has been slain and assassinated. Remember, Omowale Malcolm X's father was also assassinated. Remember that a number of the brothers of Earl Little, Omowale Malcolm X's father, was also attacked by the forces of white supremacy. Remember, Omowale Malcolm X himself was assassinated, and his grandson was also assassinated. The devil does not sleep, brother.
Word, son. Better believe it, yeah.
Third generation of manhood in a singular lineage. So we hear about the fact that Brother Malcolm Shabazz was assassinated. We have to understand it and put it in its proper context. Understand what that truly means. But that is another subject for another time. Today what we're going to try and do, we're answering the question, who am I? Where my day are from?
Come on.
So we're going to try and merge the political with the personal, or I should say the personal with the political. And in many ways, what's happening today and what's the message on our observance, which is the 19th of February, going to be linked. It's like a two-part. This is the first part. So today we're going to bring the personal together with the political, and then in another sense, at our observance, we're going to bring the political together with the personal, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Alright, it's just a matter of emphasis. But the message is entitled, Omowale, the son has returned. And if I'm not mistaken, over the years we've had a few Omowale, the son has returned messages. Yeah? One or two. And it's very important to come back to this subject. You know what I'm saying? And I hope to add to what we've done previously in our Omowale Malcolm X observances with this subject. Omowale, say it with me. Omowale is a name in the Yoruba language. And many people don't know that Omowale Malcolm X actually had an African name. More specifically a Yoruba name. And for the context of this name, let us go to the autobiography of Malcolm X and explain how Omowale Malcolm X got this name. He says, speaking about his experience in the Ibadan University in Nigeria.
That's right.
Yeah? He was speaking at an occasion that was hosted by the Muslim Students Association. Very important. Yeah, we often miss that out. But the event was being hosted by the Muslim Students Association at the Ibadan University. Omowale Malcolm X goes to Nigeria already. Many people don't know that he already goes to Nigeria. In fact, when he was in the Nation of Islam, he was already using the name Malik Shabazz. This is not a name that he got after he went to Mecca. When he was in the Nation of Islam, he was already named Malik Shabazz.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, you know what the name Malik means? It denotes things like kingship, sovereignty. Yeah? Sovereign leader, that kind of vibration. Alright? And so he goes to Nigeria at this occasion hosted by the Muslim Students Association. He says, afterwards in the Students' Union, I was plied with questions and I was made an honorary member of the Nigerian Muslim Student Society. Right here in my wallet is my card, Alhaji Malcolm X, registration number M138. With the membership I was given a new name, Omowale. It means in the Yoruba language, the son who has come home. I meant it when I told them I had never received a more treasured honor.
Come on.
Now, I find it very interesting that our Muslim brothers and sisters in Nigeria understood the significance of giving Omowale Malcolm X not an Arabic name or an addition to his Arabic names, but a Yoruba name. I feel they did more understand something when they say Omowale.
They know the thing, man.
And knew what it meant within the language. And he says here, the son who has come home. So let's look deeper into this name, Omowale, and what it means. Yeah? Now, Omo technically doesn't mean son. It means child. Omo is not gender specific.
That's right.
So it can mean son or it can mean daughter. You following me? Yeah, so really, Omowale is the child who has come home, and if it's a son or a daughter, is dependent upon who have the name Omowale. You following me?
Yeah.
Alright? And then in the Yoruba language, wa is come, yeah, to arrive. Wa. Yes? And then le is, the name is a contraction, alright? So le is ile, which is home or house, place. Yeah, the founding city of the Yoruba people is Ile-Ife, for example. Ile meaning the place, abode. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
But let's go a bit deeper. One of my favorite channels on YouTube is called Yoruba Lessons with Aderonke. Yeah, a sister by the name of Aderonke does Yoruba lessons. But what I love about her channel is that when you watch her, you're not going to get how to say hello, and how to say goodbye, and how to say my name is, and how to say my age is, and where we live. She, through her explanations, you are going to receive an understanding of the consciousness of our Yoruba ancestors and the culture of the Yoruba people. For example, one of her series that she has is called In and of Itself, where she goes into the meaning of Yoruba words in and of themselves. What that means is, oftentimes when you translate a word in Yoruba or many other African languages into English, because translation is about approximate meaning and not exact meaning, you're often going to get a meaning that doesn't do justice to the deeper meaning in the Yoruba. You follow me?
Yeah.
That the translation from Yoruba to English loses something. So that you're not learning about the consciousness of our Yoruba ancestors in the construction of the language itself.
Word.
So she breaks it down for us. Yeah? For example, Iya, meaning, or often translated as mother, doesn't just mean mother. The word gives expression to the function of a mother within the culture. Oba doesn't mean king. The word gives expression to the function of the sovereign leader within the nation. So Omo does not mean child. It's translated as child. Yeah? If you're looking for the approximate meaning in English, it would be child. But within the Yoruba language, it has a deeper meaning. And she teaches that Omo, or the words, or words such as this, nouns in general, tell us what the person is or what they are, what should be done with them, and what they can do. The term answers these three questions. Are you with me?
Yeah.
We're going at it now. Yeah? Omo. What does Omo mean? The root term in Omo is mo. Yes? Which is a verb. Mo means to build or to mold. Are you with me?
Yeah.
The O makes the verb a noun. It's the noun maker. Alright? So the one who is. Yeah? So, Omo, literally speaking, or in and of itself, means the one who is built or molded. Yes?
Yeah.
The one who builds or molds. The one who builds or molds, I should say, and the one who builds or molds. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So this is an instruction, in the term Omo, is an instruction to those who have children as well as children ourselves. That the people who have children have a responsibility to build and mold. To understand that the child is built with the capacity, or born with the capacity to be shaped and molded. And then, whilst being shaped and molded, that child has the capacity to shape and mold and must fulfill the purpose of shaping and molding.
Word.
That is Omowale, the son who has returned.
Come on. Powerful. Come on.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
We're going to come back to this in a second. But in honoring Omowale Malcolm X, and in defining the term Omo, let us honor the people that were primarily responsible for shaping and molding and building him. His parents, Mama Louise Little, Baba Earl Little. I'm going to move very quickly because of time. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
And we're going to get some testimony from Omowale Malcolm X himself about the ways in which he was shaped and molded by his parents. Taken from the autobiography of Malcolm X, he said, one of the reasons that I have always felt my father favored me was, to the best of my remembrance, is it was only me that he sometimes took with him to the Garvey UNIA meetings, which he held quietly in different people's homes. Yeah? There were never more than a few people at any one time. 20 at the most. But that was a lot. Packed into someone's living room, I noticed how different they were acting. Different from when Papa Earl Little was preaching in church. Yeah? Although sometimes they were the same people who jumped and shouted in church. But in these meetings, both they and my father were more intense, more intelligent, and down to earth. It made me feel the same way. Papa Earl was an unrepentant guardian.
Word.
Member of the UNIA, who built branches and preached Garvey anywhere we got. In other words, particularly in the United States of America. He was responsible for the political education of the children. So Sunday, church. Saturday was mosaic. The family gather and you're going to learn about some Marcus Garvey and some African liberation talk.
Come on.
To the extent that the children grew up so proud of being African. Omowale Malcolm X, his oldest brother, retells a story, Wilfred is his name, whereby he was in school and the teacher got them all to sing the Star-Spangled Banner, the national anthem of the United States of America. And Brother Wilfred, who is the oldest, I received the Moore's Garveyite teaching, said, well, we have an anthem too. Who is we? African. Yeah, we don't have that kind of anthem.
Come on.
We have an anthem too. So the teacher said, what's it called? Wilfred said, the Universal Ethiopian Anthem. So the teacher said, could you sing it for us, please? So Wilfred got up. Advance, advance to victory, let Africa be free. Advance to meet the foe, advance to meet the foe, with the might of the red, the black and the green, with the might of the red, the black and the green. Wilfred.
You there?
8 years old. He's like 11 years old. Yeah. In his classroom. He tells us that we have an anthem too.
That's right.
Because he was imbibed with the concept of nationhood.
All right.
Parenting, good parenting.
Based upon, and they often attribute this to the teaching that they got from their father. But Mama Louise Little was no less an unrepentant
Garveyite, that's right.
and she was of the prolific writers and editor for the Lansing branch of the UNIA-ACL, for the legal newspaper, which was the newspaper of the UNIA-ACL. And Papa Omowale Malcolm X said of his mother, thinking about it now, I feel that definitely, just as my father favoured me for being enlightened, I should say that his brother Wilfred challenges. They have a debate about who was the favourite for who, which era, and why. Alright? But he says that my mother gave me more hair for the same reason. Mama Louise Little, the product of the rape of her mother, didn't want her son to be raised with a superiority complex because of his lighter complexion. That's right. So she make him know early, you're no better than the rest of your darker skin brothers and sisters there. Early on.
Yeah, soon after.
Soon! She said she was very light about herself, but she favoured the ones who were darker. Wilfred, I know, was particularly her angel. I remember that she would tell me to get out of the house.
When I'm fun.
Yes? And let some sunshine on you. So you can get some colour. That's good parenting. Yeah? She went out of her way never to let me become afflicted with a sense of colour superiority. I am sure that she treated me this way partly because of how she came to be like herself. But she also had another side to her. He says, one thing in particular that I remember made me feel grateful towards my mother was that one day I went and asked her for my own garden. Mama Louise Little used to work land. And she did let me have my own little plot. I loved it and I took care of it well. I loved especially to grow peas. I was proud when we had them on our table. I put out the grass in my garden by hand. When the first little blades came up, I would patrol the rows on my hands and knees for any worms and bugs, and I would kill and bury them. And sometimes, when I had everything straight and clean for my things to grow, I would lie down on my back between the two rows. Between two rows, and I would gaze up in the blue sky at the clouds moving and think all kinds of things. Now I'm made to understand as well that this was something that she did with all of the children. She gave all of the children feed them with land. So they can understand the value of the labour of agriculture. Significant Garveyite principle as well. So these are the teachings that Omowale Malcolm X was getting from early on. Are you with me? But in saying all of this, I want to honour Papa Omowale Malcolm X's big sister.
You know?
Who had a significant hand in raising Omowale Malcolm X. Particularly after his father was assassinated and the family was split up. She brought Omowale Malcolm X into her home, and I'm made to understand that she had a few gangster proclivities. And we know that Omowale Malcolm X went down a certain road, but apparently she loved Omowale Malcolm X so much because he was the one who was most like her. And I learned that just like Omowale Malcolm X has some gangster proclivities, so did Mama Ella. You know what I'm saying? Are you following me? Right? But in all of her taking care of Omowale Malcolm X, she understood that she had the need to cultivate certain sensibilities in him. And so we're going to get a word from her, but before that I want to give you what he thought of her as a woman upon meeting her. She's about 10 years his senior. And he says, I think the major impact of Ella's arrival, at least upon me, was that she was the first really proud black woman I'd ever seen in my life. She was plainly proud of her very dark skin. This was unheard of among Negroes in those days, especially in Lansing. And in the autobiography, he speaks of how proud she was, and how she had to divorce two men because they were too weak for her. She can't take the strongest. They're not ready for her. And all these things. But this stood out and stands out to me because she was very much the image of her father, her little. And Omowale Malcolm X speaks of her pride and her dignity and her articulation, yes? And the impact that it had on him at a very young age. He said, Ella, a commanding woman. Ella wasn't just black, but like her father, she was jet black. The way she sat, moved, talked, did everything, bespoke somebody who did and got exactly what she wanted. This was the woman my father had boasted of so often for having brought so many of their family out of Georgia, the South, where many were fleeing because of the lynching that was going on in the southern states of America, to Boston, in the northern states. Yeah? And he goes on to talk about how she owned some property, and she got into the property business, and so on and so forth. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Now let's hear from Mama Ella herself.
Tenawari.
Malcolm lived with me from 12 until he went to prison. I had a chance to discipline Malcolm in prison. Malcolm was an aggressive young boy. I admired it. I stimulated it. I felt that a black man, a black young man, over the period of 400 years in America, had been deprived of any aggressive thoughts even. If you show aggressive thoughts before the white man, he would erase you, set you apart from the others as a villain. So, but I felt that in order for Malcolm, after my father's death and his mother's having gone to a hospital, I felt that it was my duty to stimulate his arrogance, stimulate his impulsiveness. Let him feel that life was the life that God gave him belonged to him. He didn't have to pay homage to anyone. This is how I guided him.
What kind of an effect did Malcolm have on you?
On me, I believe the effect he had on me was to see him grow from childhood into a dynamic figure, a man with an understanding of man and himself and life in itself. On me, he was to me like Jesus is to most Christians. I can imagine how the Virgin Mary felt about her Jesus. This is what Malcolm was to me. Each step that he grew, each time that the changes came, I could feel them and see them. I could see them in his manner, his approach to me, his respect for me. Malcolm had a great respect for womanhood. I don't know how he came by this, but possibly, as I said, from our tribe. Maybe this was a virtue that most men don't have, but he had it, a great respect for womanhood.
Was Malcolm searching when he went abroad, traveled abroad for the period of time?
Yes. This is why I say he was ready. Malcolm broadened his scope. Much of what he learned abroad gave him a mature approach to the black man's problem. Before, he had much frustration. In the Nation of Islam, there is much frustration. Malcolm had acquired some of this frustration. On his return from Africa, after traveling and spending time with all of the black leaders and revolutionary leaders, Malcolm came home a man. No frustrations, no emotional problems, no desire for material gains, which is one of the greatest assets a man can acquire, is to lose that desire for material gains, lose that value on that man's dollar. Malcolm had cast aside all of this. He walked into my house. He told me he was going to speak at Harvard that night. He spoke at Harvard Law Forum. After he came back to the house, I gave him a diploma. Tonight, Malcolm, you're a man. From my point of view. He said, I traveled hard, didn't I? I said, yes, you did, but you made it. You're a man.
Yeah, Lord. I played the whole thing in spite of the time here, because I want people to understand. Omowale, this man had people who knew they had a responsibility to mold and shape him. Everything that she said she cultivated, his confidence. She affirmed his manhood. Yes? And knowing the extent to which he looked up to her, she understood that she had a responsibility to do so. Are you following me?
Yeah.
I want people to understand this. I want to move very quickly for the rest of this. Yeah? So, Omowale Malcolm X, we know, becomes what is defined as an extreme delinquent, as what he defines as an extreme delinquent. And much of his recentering of himself, in answering the question, who am I, was pursued in prison through his capacity to read. Remember, Omowale, the one who is to be built. The one who builds. And he said in the autobiography, I've often reflected upon the new vistas that reading opened up to me. I knew right there in prison that reading had changed forever the course of my life.
Right, that's right.
As I see it today, the ability to read awoke inside me some long dormant craving to be mentally alive. I certainly wasn't seeking any degree in Ubuntu University. The way a college confers a status symbol upon its students. My homemade education gave me, with every additional book that I read, a little bit more sensitivity to the deafness, dumbness, and blindness that was afflicting the black race in America. This is a man who's awakening to his purpose in life and instilling himself with what he needs to fulfill that purpose.
That's right.
Not long ago, an English writer telephoned me from London asking questions. One was, what's your alma mater, your major subject, basically. I told him, books! You will never catch me with a free 15 minutes in which I am not studying something I feel might be able to help the black man. Papa Garvey said he must read 4 times a day.
Spirit of Garvey.
And I read that and said, Papa Garvey, we have a 4-year-old son that can't go out. 4 hours a day. Now go out. At the same time, the point is clear. Alright? In terms of the purpose of reading. But you're not reading for reading's sake. You're reading for the purpose of being able to assist and free and liberate our people. So we see here the personal development of the man in acquiring knowledge, but put towards a particular purpose. And just to give you an example of what he was reading. Let me go to the next one. He said, those original white Christian traders sent into China millions of pounds of opium. By 1839, so many of the Chinese were addicts. And this is in the chapter Saved, I believe, in the autobiography. And he details in significant detail everything when did I read. From Plato and Aristotle to history. And he spends particular time on the history. And he says, by 1839, so many Chinese were addicts that China's desperate government destroyed 20,000 chests of opium. The first opium war was promptly declared by the white man. Imagine declaring war upon someone who objects to being narcotized. The Chinese were severely beaten with Chinese invented gunpowder. The white man take with them gunpowder and beat them. The Treaty of Nanking made China. The Treaty of Nanking made China pay the British white man for the destroyed opium forced upon China's major ports to British trade, forced China to abandon Hong Kong, fixed China's import tariffs so low that cheap British articles soon flooded in, maiming Chinese industrial development. Omowale Malcolm X breaking it down. What he was reading, yes, at the time while he was in prison. After a second opium war, the Tientsin treaties legalized the ravaging opium trade, legalized a British, French, American control. What did he say? British, French, American control of China's customs. China tried delaying that treaty's ratification. Peking was looted and burned. Him going in the history of India same way. So what he's learning, Papa Garvey said, read and study carefully the historic character of the white man.
The white man.
But he's learning this. Now, bear this in mind. One of the reasons why Omowale Malcolm X became such an effective recruiter to the Nation of Islam was based upon his capacity to relay and break down history such as this. To crystallize the system of oppression for our people.
Yeah.
Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
He became a genius at doing this, but because he prepared himself for the task.
Yeah.
He built the sensibility through his study. He never come and say, well, me have a gift for talk, let me just talk. He realized that he had to step out of his comfort zone and acquire skills and knowledge that would be indispensable to the African people of the world. I'm going to skip the rest of this kings and queens. Yeah? A lot of this was also put to use in the Nation of Islam's program for rehabilitation of addicts. Yeah? And it's very important that we understand that that's the kind of work that Omowale Malcolm X was doing in the Nation of Islam. He wasn't just a platform speaker.
No.
Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
He took the message to the grassroots and was having an impact on the grassroots level of our people and taking our people off of drugs. Whatever we want to say, whatever our agreements and disagreements with the Nation of Islam, we are internally indebted to that organization for giving us the example of things such as this. He says, our cure program's first major ingredient was the painfully patient work of Muslims who previously were junkies themselves. He describes their 6-stage program, for getting the addict off drugs. The addict first was brought to admit to himself that he was an addict. Secondly, he was taught why he used narcotics, and they connected that with the oppression of African people. Third, he was shown that there was a way to stop addiction. Fourth, the addict's shattered self-image and ego were built. Was what? Built. Omowale. Up until the addict realized that he had within the self-power to end his addiction. Fifth, the addict voluntarily underwent a cold turkey break with drugs. And sixth, finally cured, now the ex-addict completes the cycle. Not by going to live a good life and getting a good job. The cycle is complete.
Give him back.
By fishing up other addicts whom he knows and supervising their salvaging. Is everybody following?
Yeah.
When we get into Omowale and the challenge of African power, we're going to be breaking down how all of this culminates into the program of the OAAU. We're not going to go into that today. You have to come on the 19th of February to get the rest of that.
Alright.
Are you following me? Alright? However, let's bring us back to this concept of Omo. When I was meditating on delivering this message, one of the things that came to my mind is the ancestral wisdom that children are returned ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the cycle of life. Yeah? So when our elders become ancestors, they become our children. This blew my mind. I know this already, but you know sometimes when you're thinking about something and it gives you a deeper and a new insight in something that you already know. When our elders become ancestors, they become our children.
Yeah.
Omo, the one who is built, molded, the one who builds, the one who builds, molds, the one who builds and molds. So effectively, brothers and sisters, when we say Omowale, what this name emphasizes to us is the fact that Omowale is our father, he's our spiritual father.
Good.
But in being our ancestor, he becomes our child.
Mm-hmm.
So what? We were molded by the example of Omowale Malcolm X. I certainly was. Hearing him speak, reading his words, learning of the work that he did, molded and shaped me.
Yeah.
Now I inherit the teaching. I am responsible for molding and shaping the fulfillment of the mission of the man. Especially because we're honoring him because he paid the ultimate price and gave the ultimate sacrifice. The legacy of Omowale Malcolm X is my child. For me to shape, for me to build upon, for me to mold, and the best testimony that we can give to his legacy, the best virtue that we can do to honor the sacrifice that he made for us is to take that legacy and to build it and to mold it. We can't do that if we're not clear about what it was. So that's why the next message is Omowale and the challenge of African power. Because that's what he was trying to do. And with that, brothers and sisters, I'll leave it there because I'm over time. I give thanks for your listening ears. Tenamwa.